So now I'm going to tell you my life story. Yeah. I was born March 13th, 1932. It was just during the Depression, you know. I remember those periods. As a young kid, I guess it was, 19, maybe when I was 7, 8, because I was going to school. I was just started school. My dad used to come and pick me up and carry my books home from school because it was so cold, so that I could warm my hands up. Uh, I went to a little one-room schoolhouse in the beginning. It was called Peebles Elementary School, and it was out in the country. We were living behind my grandmother's house at that time, and we hadn't yet acquired our own property. It hadn't been bequeathed to us, so I don't know what the family dynamics were, but I just know where we were. And I remember going out this long road, past the graveyard to the one-room country school. I remember that the school, in order to go to the restroom, you had raised, number one was you had to go urinate, number two was you had to do a stool. So in order to go to the restroom, you had to go, and then we had to go out to school all the way out the back to the restrooms. And I remember that part of my life. And from there, we moved into the city. I didn't know at the time how we got there and all this, but then we moved to the city. We had a nice house, and a fireplace, and big French doors, and a heath, a mantelpiece, handy irons, and bookcases. And I just go, wow, this is like white folks, you know. Well, come to find out that in our family, we had a Buffalo Soldier. They turned out to be quite wealthy, that side of the family in Chicago. And on the other side of the family, they had freed slaves, Freemasons, and they wound up being quite wealthy in Galveston, Texas. So between the two families, my grandmother and my mother, they sort of bequeathed some of the property down to the kids. So I found out later that's how that house came into being. And while we were there, my mother was ambitious enough that we purchased the house next to us. So we owned those two pieces of property. The house next to that was owned by my cousins, the Alberts, who had the Buffalo Soldier in their family. So we were just like this whole block of, 3 houses of family. Well, during that time, not only were you considered above average if you owned your own property, but you were also allowed to vote. Blacks could vote if they owned property or paid poll tax.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
A Buffalo Soldier, what is that?
About?
A Buffalo Soldier, what is it? A Buffalo Soldier.
Oh, the Buffalo Soldier? The Buffalo Soldiers were the blacks that fought the Indians. They were with the Union Army or whatever. They fought the Indians, and the Indians named them the Buffalo Soldiers because, one, they were black, and because they had that kind of hair, and mostly important, not that, because that's what most people see. They named them the Buffalo Soldiers because they were fearless.
Yeah.
Fearless, like the buffalo.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was an honor bestowed upon the blacks by the Native Americans. Yeah. Buffalo. Well, the Buffalo Soldiers' home is in Fort Stockton, Texas. We went there. It's preserved as a, what do you call it, National Monument, Environment, whatever that thing is. It's there. And they have the barracks. They have, the layout of the uniforms, and just like it was during the day. We were coming back cross country, and we stopped overnight in Fort Stockton, and I just thought, well, Fort Stockton, towns have names, but it actually had a fort. And I drove around and saw the fort, and next morning as we were leaving out of town, I said to Sharon, let's go take a look at the fort. And we did, and lo and behold, history. And we just sort of stumbled on it. because we could have stayed in another town,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
So that's the Buffalo. So it's a lot more to it than that, but that's the basis of it. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, having acquired the property, by this time I can remember. I guess I must have been about what 7, 8, somewhere around in there when you start, really looking at things. And we lived in this neighborhood, and most around us were property owners because it's what we call a salt and pepper neighborhood. If you went this way up the neighborhood, it was white. If you went this way up the neighborhood, it was black. If you went behind me up Buchanan up the hill, it was white. If you went up this way up the hill, it's black. So right in this little circle here, salt and pepper, black and white. So I grew up with the kids, and we played together, and uh, we didn't have problems playing with each other, and but when the parents come to take them someplace and it was a fun place to go, it's like, come on, James, let's go. And the parents say, well, he can't go, and I grew up in the he can't go era. Well, I understood why I couldn't go. I couldn't go because I was black, and it was for whites only. And during that time, there was all signs everywhere for whites only, colored, a Negro. Those are the signs for us. It's sombering, to think, look back on it. But when you're a kid growing up in it, you're just growing up in it. So it's like it's your everyday world. You're not really thinking about it. Yeah. Up the street, 2 blocks up the street was a white swimming pool, and it was a park, Elizabeth Park. We could go up there and hang on the fence, the chain link fence, and watch the kids swim, but we couldn't swim in there. They said, well, if you let them niggas swim there, we had to drain the whole pool, So that's that. But we had a pool. We had a pool way over on the other side of town at Hadley Park. We had a pool. Uh, Nashville, where I grew up, it was an interesting time being a kid. It really was. Because we played Cowboys, and then we had John Wayne, we had Hopalong Cassidy, Tim Holt, Wild Bill Elliott, all the cowboy heroes. And we had a black cowboy, Herb Jeffries. Herb Jeffries was a black cowboy, but amazingly enough, the black cowboy was so light, he looked almost white. It wasn't a real black cowboy. It was a white black cowboy that could sing. Yeah. And like Lena Horne, we had so many great singers, but they picked Lena Horne because the horn, she fit in, she blended high yellow, that's what we call it, that was Lena Horne. But also because of her talent, but more so because she was presentable, because we had a saying, if you're black, get back. If you're brown, stick around. If you're yellow, you're mellow. And if you're high yellow, you're damn near white. Yeah. So we grew up doing all of that. I was thinking about some of the other things as going through that part of my life. One morning, going to school, my mom had fixed my favorite breakfast: bacon, fried apples, and biscuits. Like she fried the apples. They were almost like candied, And these big old country biscuits and really thick bacon. Bacon was bacon back there, So we had my lunch, and I was all ready to go. By the way, these lunches never made it to lunch. I mean, it might make it 2 or 3 blocks up the street, but I'm eating all the way to school. When lunchtime come, I ain't got no lunch, but that's okay. But this morning, there was a knock on the door, and they told them to keep the kids in the house. And we found out later the reason that they wanted us to keep the kids in the house, not let them out to go to school that day, that particular time of the morning, because a person had been hung down on the corner. They had to cut him loose before they let us out. So at the same time with the Cowboys and Indians, all this and the other, it was a time of strange fruit. Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit. Strange Fruit, for those who just heard the song, it's about a mass hanging. and the blacks hanging from the trees are the fruit. That's what Strange Fruit is about, that song of Strange Fruit. Well, we survived that. I got to be a little older, and I was quite rebellious, from the beginning. Just he can't go, you can't go. After a while, it gets to be, why? How come? And then you start noticing the difference in the way people are talking to your people and the way they're talking to other people. Like, an example, we'd go to the store, and the butcher would come to the counter and go, well, what you want this morning, Auntie? And I go, she's not your auntie, she's my mother. Then I'd get that look from him, and then I'd see him look at my mom. I'm not realizing that I'm jeopardizing her credit, all this other stuff. I'm just being me. The Peck's bad boy again. It's just being me. And so it got to be, as I grew up, I kept seeing these differences. All of us did. And we all became rebellious, white kids, rebellious black kids. This little group of, it was what we call now a gang. It was a gang of us that said, this ain't right. And the white people would bring that, because you come on over here, because they didn't want them to be called nigger lovers. And the black people were grabbing that kiss, y'all come over here, y'all gonna get hung. But we stuck together, and that was a problem. So my mom, in order to keep me from getting in trouble, she sent me off to military academy, Gala Military Academy. I guess I was about 13. Yeah, she sent me to a military academy. So I actually went to a military academy to become an officer. It's like, I really didn't care about becoming an officer, but it was good to get out of town and get out of that environment. But the military academy was south. It was located in Mason, Tennessee, of all places. It was Gala, Gaylor, Gala Military Academy. It was Episcopalian Military Academy. So I not only learned how to do the military planning, all the military academics, but also being in the South, it had a farm. So we had cows. We were self-sufficient. We had cows. We had hogs. We grew the regular, what you call them, truck garden, truck garden groups. So we supplied ourselves. So in addition to learning military, I also learned life. I learned how to outfit a horse, put the bridle in, harness a horse. I'm old now, so these things don't come to me as quick as they did. But I learned how to harness up a horse, I learned how to plow. I learned how not to keep the plow going too deep into the ground, how to keep it up. I learned haul, come on, you. I learned how to go out and herd the cows. What we wasn't supposed to do is so far out, we'd ride a cow. Riding the cow is hard because cows are wide, And the first place you got to get on them. They ain't going to let you up there too easy. But once you get up there, it's not like a horse. You ain't got nothing to hold on to. So you're riding the cow. So we get almost back to the barn, and we get off the cow because we get in trouble for riding the cow. Mr. Lewis, he was our instructor. Y'all riding them cows, they look awfully wet. No, sir, they just move fast. They knew. So, and at that time, being in the South, it was NFA, National Farmers of America, or whatever it was. But they called us, the black folks, they called us the New Farmers of America. So it was always that separate distinction for you. But coming back from that, I guess I'm about 13, 14. Because I'm back in school now. I mean, I was okay in school. The thing about us at that period in time, that's why I said we needed to just go this way, because it was expected of us to get good grades. We were the middle class, and families bragged on their children. My child, my child, my child. And as long as you were in the upper good my child group, the families were good up, but me, I mean, I wouldn't study. I wouldn't go do all the study groups. They say, "Ooh, Miss Mason, your son wasn't in study group, but I passed the test."
Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah, I passed the test. Because to me, I don't want to have to go up here and sit for an hour with all of y'all to read all these questions and say the answer. The question is here. The answer is here. That's the test. Why do I have to go up here and sit in the class to do this? Peck's bad boy again.
Yeah.
I just didn't see the need for it. I guess I've just been, I guess I have been that way all my life. But I passed the test. So even though, well, Miss Mason, your boy just doesn't conform, and she could say, well, he made the grade. Well, that was good until I got in the 10th grade, and I knew I was not going to pass algebra. And when I got back from the military academy, I joined the NROTC, the Naval Reserve Officers Training Corps, ROTCs. That's what they called them back in the day.
How?
ROTC,
Okay.
Reserve Officers Training Corps. That was the civilians in where you prerequisites like reserves. That you got your Army training, then you went on to enlist in the Army. You already had pre-training so you could advance in the ranks. Okay. Well, we had the NROC, the Naval Reserve Officers Training Corps, and since I was just back from a military academy, I had just naturally fit into the Naval Reserve Officers Training Corps, learning to be an officer. Well, during that time in the summer, we would take cruises, summer cruises, like the Army Reserve goes out in the summer on missions to keep them prepared just in case they're needed. Okay, well, we took cruises on the ships to keep us trained just in case we were needed and called upon. Well, the cruise that I picked was the one going to Panama. Because in school I'd read about the Panama Canal, the Panama Canal, the Panama Canal. So now I'm here, 15 years old on a ship. I'm going through the Panama Canal. I'm watching the mules come. I'm watching the water rise. I'm on a real naval military ship, a destroyer minesweeper. I've got guns. I've got all this. It ain't a movie. It's real. I mean, I was thrilled to death because it's real. And all the other kids back here, they see in the movie. So I go back home, and school, it's all done. Not only did I know I wasn't going to pass algebra, because if I didn't pass algebra, I wasn't going to graduate. And if you didn't graduate, I knew what that's going to do with your standing in Miss Mason's good boy and all this and all that. And she knew too, because I was telling her I don't understand algebra. So at that point, your parents could sign for you if you were a year away from being able to go into the regular service. If you were of age, you could enlist yourself and say, I do. But if you were pre-age, your parents could sign for you to go in. So I had my parents, it's like what they do now, they call it emancipate you. So if your kids want to be on their own, they get emancipated. Okay, so I got emancipated and I went into the Navy. My mom signed for me. Now I'm 16 years old in the United States Naval Reserve Officers Training Corps. I'm 17 years old, put my age up, and I'm in the real United States Navy. So much for kids stuff. Well, it's difficult because I'm a kid. I'm not an adult, I'm still a kid. And I'm not of the real age and maturity that you're supposed to be in this outfit. But I'm here.
Right.
So it's not difficult for me. I mean, it's just for other people to understand, well, you shouldn't be doing this. You can't do this. Well, for me, it's like, why? It's easy. You just go, all right, sir, up, 2, 3, 4, turn around, salute, wash your clothes, go to class, get your training. That's the same thing I did in school. I'm in the Navy doing the same thing, except it's a specialized, of course, I was trained to be an electronic technician. So that was ET school. And in the Army, when you went in, you didn't have to have a specialty because you were infantry, you were combat, you were on the ground. But Navy, all the crafts are specialized. You're a gunner's mate, you're a fire control specialist, because all these different things happen on the ship, so you can't have everybody doing everything. In the Army, if you're an infantryman, you can also drive a truck. If you drive a truck, you can shoot a gun. You can do. Navy can't do that. You not know how to do this. Because this is what makes this ship work. So in the process of doing that, I'm in Panama.
Mhm.
16, 15 years old, Coca Solo, Cristobal, Colon, Officers Club, real Navy uniform, girls, the whole thing. It's over for high school. I'm sorry. High school is done. Done. So I come back from this cruise and I know it's over for high school, because I have to go back to school because I'm still a student. So I go back to school and I'm wearing a uniform to school. All the other kids are going to school because I'm wearing undressed blues. It's like, here you go again, sticking out, sore thumb. But to me, it just came. It wasn't something that look, see me, or I want to be different. It just was naturally me. And somehow I just never fit. I fit with the misfits, but I didn't just. So well, now I'm in the Navy, and it's great because I love it. It's military. It's what I want. It's structure. It's command. It's being. It's feeling we're part of something. Being somebody. And that's a good feeling. That's what hooks you. When the slogan when I joined the Navy was "Join the Navy, see the world."
Mhm.
Well, I joined the Navy to see the world, but I joined the 5th of January 1950. The Korean War broke out in July 1950.
Yeah.
So the world that I saw, instead of going to Europe and all these other nice, beautiful cruises that the Navy did, I went from USNTC, United States Naval Training Center in San Diego. By the way, it's not there anymore. I want to stop right here and take a minute on this. When I went into service, it was 1950. And the naval base at UNTC was a functioning naval base. It was a training facility. And where we took our water and things, it was downtown, where the bay comes in, and it was called Fleet Landing.
Mhm.
And it was like a huge, how can I describe it? You take a block long facility, just one whole long block. In the middle of this block, you got a passageway so you can go in and go this way. On the inside, you got docks, where the ship's boats come in and tie up. Fleet Landing. So on the outside, it looks like buildings with a door, with an entryway. But when you get on the inside, you walk around. Here's ship number 1 dock over here, ship number 2, ship number 3. Then that's where the entryway was. There's a big space there where it's just where ships can come pick you up. I mean, M-boats can come pick you up and take you back to the ship. And the reason it's called Fleet Landing because the ships that came into San Diego couldn't pull all the way into the beach at that time. So they anchored it what we call in the stream. They buoyed out. And the boats would take you from the ship into this Fleet Landing. And there you got off and went in town and did Liberty. When you got ready to go back out to your ship, you'd go back to Fleet Landing and catch your boat and would take you back out to your ship. So we had our own boats that we ran ready to pick our people up and take them back, but they also had water taxis. You could take a water taxi like for 25 cents, take you to a ship. If you had to go 2 ships, it was 50 cents.
Wow.
So there was ways to get back and forth. That place now no longer exists. It's just nothing. It's like it never was there. If you didn't know what it was, you wouldn't. You know, those are the memories. That's why I just want to tell the story because those are the memories that we have that just go along with our life as we go along.
Right.
Yeah, and at that age now, I'm in the Navy, and I go in. I'm 16 in January. The Korean War breaks out in July, so I go to war. Now I'm 16 years old, and I'm going to war, and now the training is different. From electronics technician, I become an assault boat coxswain. Assault boat coxswain is the person that drives. Well, for those of you that don't know what assault is, it's when you go into the beach. You see the movies and you see the boats going, drop the ramp, you see the guys run off and get on the beach. Well, I was the guy that drove the boat.
Mhm.
And Dead bodies floating around, bullets pinging, ping, bang. This was Incheon landing. Not like World War II. None of that. I mean, not dead bodies floating around wasn't like at the landing. I mean, the landing was that, but dead bodies floating around was like during the war. When after you do this duty, you go back to your ship, right? And the other ships come in, they send their people out to do that duty. Okay, yeah. So now I'm back on the ship, and there's dead bodies floating, and we have to retrieve those bodies to find out whether they're American or enemy for a body count. And sometimes they're pilots, our pilots. Sometimes they're other pilots. So at this point, we are on body retrieval. And I'm the coxswain of a boat. You've seen the boats where the guy standing in the back with the tiller. And my bow hook, we're supposed to hook the body and bring it alongside, take it back to the ship so they can identify it. Then they will give it a proper burial. They'll either, put a weight on it or something, regardless whether it's enemy or American. That's just common courtesy. Well, since I went in the Navy in 1950, it was also the time that the Navy armed forces were first integrated, desegregated, when any black could be anything. Before that time, all the blacks in the Navy were stewards mates. Stewards mates were just like waiters to the officers. It wasn't that it was degrading, it was just the positions that they had for blacks in the military at sea. You had two billets at sea. You had a battle station billet and you had a seagoing billet. Seagoing billet might be cleaning the decks, swabbing the decks, mopping, clean, painting and all this. Well, your battle station billet, bing, 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 when you go to battle, you drop that and you go to either your gun or your ship or what you do. Well, in the beginning, what the blacks did for that seagoing ballot was serve the officers. They were waiters. They were cooks in the officers' mess. They had the nicest uniforms, gabardine uniforms, officers' caps with the bibs and everything, drapes on their sleeve. They were sharp, man. They stepped out. They looked good. They looked just like an officer until you look and saw that they had a C on the sleeve, and when we joined, they no longer had to be that. And you could go, for a different rate of this. So I first went in as electronics technician maybe. And then I was doing radar, and I didn't like that because all I saw was radar scope coming into port. And I saw blip, blip, blip. And I go outside, we're already here. I ain't seen nothing to say, we're here. So I want to get out of here. So since they go, you know what? You're intelligent. We put you up here and we elevated you. You want to get out? We'll fix you. We'll send you make you a fireman. We'll send you to the engineering division. So they sent me from the electronic division to the engineering division. The engineering division is down in the hole because they keep the boilers running, they keep the motors turning, So down here, not only is it hot, but I'm thinking, man, I don't want to be down here. Because if a torpedo hit this ship, it's coming right through here, and the water's coming right in here, and I got to climb up this ladder to get out. I ain't staying here. Y'all don't care what y'all say. They go, all right, you're going to be a deck ape. Cool. A deck ape is the people that work on deck. I mean, they paint the ship. You see them hanging over the sides, doing this sort of stuff. Deck apes because they had the mast. They were the ones that climbed up there, and tended to all the high wire stuff. So I'm a deck ape. And that's just great. Because I'm coming into port. Every time we come into port, all right, man your stations. So now we run upstairs and we stand up and we're coming into port and we're the guys you see stand up on the ship like this. We man the rail. When you see us standing up, we'll stand up like this coming into port. So when you see the ships, when we go down, we sort of just, that's us. You see them ships coming and you see all them guys stand up alongside that, those are the deck apes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was fine. I got to see where we was going. And then that's how I got to be the assault boat coxswain. Then my battle station was boats. driving boats, and we call it coxswain. It's spelled Coxswain, the proper way to spell it in the British Navy. The Brits, as we call it coxswains, coxswains, or whatever you call it. But we call it, you're a coxswain. You know, that's it. And if you notice, we had crossed ankles on our sleeves. Those are bosun mates.
Okay.
The crossed ankles, that's us. You know, we're all proud of what we do. And the fire controlmen, you'll see that they'll have like maybe, what's a fire control? Maybe cross nozzles like that. Some have cross metalsmith, that'd be a metalsmith. Whatever your rate is, it's a little patch of it up down above your rate. So mine was crossed ankles because I was a bosun mate, and I drove boats. That's the Korean War. That, you know, we don't talk about war. Most of the vets I know, some vets would sit down and tell you that war stories, but like, war, it's not about telling a story. I mean, war is awful. I mean, people on the other side don't want to get killed. We don't want to get killed. I got to kill you before you kill me. What sense is this? And the people that create the wars, they ain't the ones out here fighting it. They're up here in the office. I declare this is a war. We're going to send 10,000. Well, why the hell don't you go? You declared the war.
Right.
You know, but anyway, that's another whole other thing. But the war is just, I have PTSD bad. When we got our career wasn't even named a war. It was a conflict. You know, the slogan or the motto for careers is the forgotten war. You know, that was World War II, right? The soldiers came home, parades and everything. Then that was Korea. It didn't really call it was a conflict, so we got nothing. I finally got my PTSD about 5 years ago when I was 80-some years old. I've been denied up until that time. Each time I put in for it, denied, denied, denied. Finally, when Obama came in and changed some of the rules, a lot of us were able, it's like people got their health insurance, a lot of us were able to get our PTSD that had been denied all these years. The white boys got theirs. They ain't had no trouble getting theirs. Some did, I'm not saying all, but just by and large, it's white supremacy.